Welcome back to a bonus edition of that Atleti podcast. We're going to take some time and preview Monday's contest, a huge game for Atletico de Madrid, a huge matchup against Botafogo, the Copa Libertadores champions out of Brazil. Joining me to help preview this showdown, which I think is going to be a bloodbath, is Pete from Glorious Botafogo, the YouTube channel. You can find him on YT. You can find him on Twitter. Pete, how's it going, man?
I am doing well. Thanks for doing this. It's really really fun. This would have never happened if this tournament wasn't happening. And I think the tournament itself, although some might have some disagreements on why it's happening or the reasoning, but I think it's great. And I think it's a really good way to mix clubs from all over the world. And I mean, man, I don't even know what was the last time the Botafogo played Atleti, and it's probably happened sometime in the past, but it's probably been a long time. Just like PSG, we hadn't played PSG since the 80s.
I just checked, this will be the first official meeting between Botafogo and Atletico de Madrid.
Okay, well, there you go.
Which is really cool. And I've had some conflicting feelings about this tournament. I've noticed fans of European-based clubs are thinking about this and talking and writing about it way differently from fans of North American, South American, Asian clubs. So it's going to be really cool, I think, to have this perspective on the show, because the South American clubs, man, Botafogo included, have just been killing it in this competition. What do you attribute that to? Is it just because this is basically a mid-season tournament for you guys? Or is it more than that?
It's definitely more than that. I think when it comes to Brazilian and South American clubs in general, I think it's for pride and glory, because the World Cup, and I'm talking about the Nations World Cup, is obviously a huge deal all over the world, right? But in South America, you have some of the heaviest hitters in the history of World Cup. You have Brazil, you have Argentina, you have Uruguay, and then every now and then you get a Chile or a Colombia that can surprise and make a statement. This is nothing different than that. It's just clubs, which is actually more passionate than the country, because this is now our countries itself divided into little segments. Everybody has their little country and everybody's going to war. And I think when it comes to playing European teams at the club level, South American teams really have something a little bit extra to prove, just because the way that it's kind of portrayed in the media, that all the talent leaves Brazil or leaves Argentina or leaves Colombia, Uruguay, etc., and then it goes to Europe, which is not, they're not lying. It's the truth, right? But that doesn't mean that there's no talent left. There's a lot of talent in these countries. And as you guys have been able to see in this Club World Cup, a lot of the South American teams are shocking the big European clubs. And there's no better way to make a statement than for Botafogo, which is a Libertadores champion, to come in, play PSG, and completely nullify PSG. Call it park the bus, call it whatever you want, call it the brick wall. At the end of the day, the results is PSG 0, Botafogo 1.
How did you come to support this club? Talk to me about your journey here.
Lifelong fan from
Nice.
birth. I went home wrapped in a Botafogo towel.
Love it. That's amazing.
And just from birth, man. My dad was a long time Botafogo supporter, and he saw the golden days, the heydays of Botafogo. You know, I think he caught more of the Jairzinho era, the 1970 World Cup, where Jairzinho scored a goal in every single stage of every single match and every single stage of the competition, including the final to win it. And Jairzinho was just such a big club legend for Botafogo. And there's other ones too. I grew up. So when I was born in the year the Botafogo ended a 21-year title drought.
You're a good luck charm.
I guess so. I guess so. I was born that year, and ever since then, it's kind of been up and down. So I grew up in an era where Botafogo, in order for you to be a supporter and be a faithful supporter, you had to have a backbone, man. You had to have a backbone, because I saw the biggest ups and the biggest downs that this club has ever had in its history. So when my dad was following and my grandfather was following, Botafogo was basically PSG, just slapping everybody left and right, not only in Brazil, but in the world, because back then the calendar is not what it is today, right? Today it's crazy. Teams are playing up to, the Brazilian teams have played up to 78 matches within a 12-month period. Botafogo,
people say the European calendar is too congested.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, it's the argument's cute. But once you get to see with the difference, Botafogo, which played so many matches within the last year, because we were winning everything, right? So we played the Brasileirão all the way to the final. We played the Libertadores, went all the way to the final, won that, and then we went to the Intercontinental World Cup that happens at the end of the year with just one team from every continent, and then we played the first round, which, by the way, we won the Brasileirão on a Sunday. On Monday, we got on an airplane, flew to Doha in Qatar, and played 2 days later. So then when people are saying, oh, yeah, you just went to Qatar and lost to Pachuca from Mexico. Pachuca played 43 matches in a 12-month span, where Botafogo played 73. And they were already in Qatar like 3 or 4 days before we even got there. So yeah, our players are dead tired. So when it comes to some European teams, like, oh, we're at the end of our season, we just finished, we maybe had a 1 week off and then we had to start practicing. I get it, but anyways, we'll get to that a little bit later. So from birth, my father is a huge Botafogo fan. Actually, my dad played pro soccer in Brazil in his 20s. And it's, again, I just grew up in an era, was up and down, up and down, up and down. You had to have a lot of backbone for me to be here today and seeing everything that's been happening with the club is it's surreal in a way, because in 2022, Botafogo almost went bankrupt and had to start over, just like Parma did and other clubs and all over the world have done, and big teams that have gone under and had to restart from the very bottom under a new name, under a new club idea, whatever it is that they have to do once they reach that point, and we almost reached that in 2022. We were in the Serie B of Brazil, and we weren't even known, or we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to come through. And then we had this miraculous run at the end and almost won every single game, ended up being champions of Serie B. And that was right at the time where John Textor, our owner, came in and was talking about the club being bought, and everybody was super excited. If we go up to the Serie A right now, we're going to come into the Serie A and breathe new life with a new team and owner and money behind it. And that's exactly what happened, man. And I think every time Botafogo takes a fall, because we're such a big club, the fall is huge, right? It's like dropping one of the biggest trees in the world and watching the ramifications of that. But every time Botafogo falls, man, the bounce back is even better than the fall. And I think we've bounced back better and harder than we ever had before. And I think where we are right now is really where we should be. Because Botafogo is not only one of the most important teams in Brazil, but also one of the most important teams in the world. Given the context that out of 5 of the World Cups that Brazil won, Botafogo were directly responsible for 3. It's a pretty big argument to say that Botafogo is responsible for 3 of those 5. So Botafogo and the national team are almost intertwined. So for us to be here, it just feels like this is where we're meant to be all along,
Would you say that this recent resurgence is in large part due to John Textor's money?
Of course.
Or is it something more than that?
Well, it was definitely what started the whole thing. I'm not gonna be here. I'm not gonna be here and say no. I'm not a hypocrite. Yeah, of course. John Textor.
Money always helps.
Money always helps, but I think the expectation. So when John Textor purchased the club, it was they signed a contract and put, short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals. And a long-term goal was for Botafogo to win at least 2 Libertadores by 2030. It's 2025 and we're already won 1. So yeah, there is the money, there is that expectation, but I think we have surpassed the expectation. In 2023, we almost won the Brasileirão. I don't know if you heard the story about the 2023 Brasileirão run. it was kind of all over international media because Botafogo was once upon a time 14 points ahead of second place. And it was like at the second leg of the Brasileirão. It was at the home stretch. And Botafogo had 10 matches in a row that they either lost or tied, with most of those matches being losses.
Oh, how frustrating was that? How terrible was that?
It was awful.
Oh,
because, just, imagine this. 2022 coming back from Serie B. 2023, we come back. We have a respectable run in the first half of the Brasileirão, kind of staying with the rest of the groups, leading here and there. And then when the summer season hit, the summer window, we acquired some players, and those players just helped immensely to the point where, again, we had that incredible run. Actually, by that time, Botafogo started the first 15 fixtures of the Brasileirão with wins, and that's almost broke a record. So, and then Luis Castro, which was the coach at that time, ended up leaving to Al Nassr because Cristiano Ronaldo called him and was like, hey, come coach me. And how do you say no to Cristiano Ronaldo when you're a Portuguese manager? And not only that, but all, the trucks of money that they probably parked in his garage over there. And then Botafogo brought a interim coach that did well, actually. And then that's what the problems happened, because the interim coach only was there for like 3, 4, maybe 5 matches. And then we hired Bruno Lage from Benfica. He's at Benfica right now. And I don't know if you've been seeing what's happening with him, and the supporters don't like each other. And him and the player the other day, they had like a shouting match when he got subbed. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
So Bruno Lage just has this really clear way of handling his teams, and it just didn't sit well with the players. It didn't sit well with John Textor. It didn't sit well with, and John Textor chose, right? We picked him, and after that, man, the season just went down the drain. Lage left, and the club was still 14 points ahead when he left, but I think he destroyed something that had such a good start, and he just kind of came in, and I think indirectly, I don't think he meant to do this, but I think indirectly he planted that seed, and things just kind of went downhill from that, man. It's really sad. But then, come 2024, we hired the right guy, and we have this Cinderella run. We almost won a treble, and that's huge in Brazil. Actually, something that's never been done. Brasileirão, Libertadores, and Brazilian Cup.
Did not know that.
Yeah, it's never been done. And Botafogo is only one of 3 teams to ever have won the Brasileirão and the Libertadores in the same year. And that was Santos of Pelé and the 2019 Flamengo, which was an incredible team.
So you guys win the Copa Libertadores last season, 3-1 over Atlético Mineiro in the final. Talk to me about that run through the Copa Libertadores, how Botafogo played and how that has gotten them here to this tournament. Are they playing any differently in response to the demands of this unique competition?
The reason why I say it was a Cinderella run is because group stage, there's 6 matches. You're playing 3 other teams. Botafogo lost the first 2. And the first 2 losses that we got was with our coach from last season, Arthur Jorge. From the moment he stepped foot and John Textor gave him full control of the football team, you could see from day one exactly what he wanted to do with the team. Some coaches, you don't see that. It takes them a few matches, maybe even a couple months to get the idea across, which is basically what's happened with our current coach. It took him a couple of months. Like this Botafogo, this is a recent form, because 2025 started very shaky for us. So in 2024, this guy comes in and we're playing the Libertadores in, I think it was either Venezuela or Ecuador. Anyways, this guy puts a 4-2-4 formation, hyper offense. His first day, he's like, forget what y'all did. I'm going to scrap it all that. And we're going to start on a 4-2-4. And I don't care what anybody says, because that's the way I like to play. That's why John Textor hired me, because John Textor wants to develop what's called the Botafogo way. It's basically when you see Barcelona play, immediately that's Barcelona. And that's what Artur Jorge did from the get-go. And you can see a 4-2-4 with the wingers dropping in as deep as it can possibly go without being offsides, bringing that defense back, which brings the mids back and then brings the forwards back, and then you just box them into their own half. And Botafogo did that to every single team last season. We just trapped them inside their own defensive half, and good luck getting out of there. By the 75th minute, you were just dead.
Mm-hmm.
And Botafogo goes and does the killing blow every time, you know, and that's how we played, man. And then 2 matches in, the players didn't get it. But then as soon as they got it, it was just victory after victory after victory. Okay, I stumble, victory, 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 stumble, victory. It was very consistent form, you know, and we made it through. And in the Libertadores, the reason why it was so special and the reason why Botafogo's run is being considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest run in the history of the Libertadores, is because we beat 9 Libertadores titles along the way. And what do I mean by that? We played teams that have been champions before every single step of the way. And we had not been in this position before. We had never gone past the quarterfinals of the Libertadores. We beat Palmeiras in the first round of the knockouts, which the season before they beat us. So in 2023, when we lost the title, Palmeiras got the title. We beat them, and they had won the Libertadores in 22. So then after that, we beat São Paulo, which is a 3-time Libertadores champion and World Cup of Club champions 3 times. And then we beat Peñarol, which has 5 Libertadores titles. We beat them 5-0 in the first game.
Playing this crazy 4-2-4.
Playing this crazy 5-0. So then we get to the final. We play Atlético Mineiro, which has won the Libertadores before too. They've been here before. Right, might not be the same players, but they've been at this position before. Supporters have been at this position before. And then what puts the cherry on the cake on this whole crazy run is that 30 seconds into the match, Gregory, which is the pillar of Botafogo's center defensive mid, he gets a red card 30 seconds into the first half. Botafogo played Atlético Mineiro in a Libertadores final, 10 men versus 11 men, for 96 plus minutes.
Was it the right call? Was it like a fair decision to send him off?
Yes. So, in my opinion, it was a loose ball. Whoever gets there first wins. Mm-hmm. Gregory tried to get there with his foot. The other guy tried to get there with his head. Gregory hits him in the head, gets a cut, blood starts going. It's a red card. You know? It's
more unfortunate than anything, but
very unfortunate because it was like a mid-level ball, you know. Somebody can try to get a header on it. Somebody can try to get a foot on it.
Mm-hmm.
They could have both tried to get a foot on it, you know, but that's not what happened. And Gregory got sent off 30 seconds in. It's okay. He gets redemption later on in the Brasileirão. He scores the goal that gave us the title.
That's cool.
That is cool.
That's cool.
So we're playing 10v11, and I think what was a major difference in there was the winning mentality that Artur Jorge had implemented on the players, because the players immediately after Gregory got the red card, they did a huddle in the middle of the pitch, and they were like, "We are going to win this game." You know, looking from like behind the scenes and interviews. Players talked about what was said in that huddle. You know, Mineiro was all postured up, ready to resume play, and Botafogo was still huddled in the middle. We're going to win this game. We're going to run for Gregory. He's our teammate. He tried his best. It was unfortunate. We are going to win this match. It doesn't matter that we lost a player. We're going to win it. And then on the bench, Artur Jorge and his assistants got into a huddle and said, "We're not changing a damn thing. I'm not pulling out a striker to put a center defensive mid. I'm not changing anything. We're going to line up the same way. The only difference is we're going to pull one of the offensive guys back a little bit to kind of be a little bit closer to the other CDM, and let's go." We were up 2-0 by the end of the first half with a man down. The second half comes on, and Atlético Mineiro scores almost within the first couple of minutes. So then it's 2-1, and it's just so nerve. I can't imagine what those players felt like. So nerve wracking, and then again, that's why you say this is why we love football. This is so poetic right here. The guy that scored the last and third goal for Botafogo there was like 30 seconds left into the match when we scored 3-1. Right? It was just to put the final nail in the coffin, right? Just to leave no doubts. That guy, he was the hero of the beginning of the run because he scored the first goal of our Libertadores run, and he scores the last.
Love that. That's so satisfying.
So I just got goosebumps right now. And then I get that feeling again just 2 weeks after that when we win the Brasileirão, right? So that's the peak. That's the peak of Botafogo. But then, even before the Libertadores, this is where Botafogo supporters kind of have a bone to pick with Artur Jorge, the manager. Before he even stepped foot on the plane to go play this Libertadores final in Argentina, he had already been talking to this Qatari club. He already had a deal going on behind the scenes. And he was kind of using that deal as kind of leverage to get a bigger contract. And there was some stuff that was happening in his personal life that were brought to light in this whole trip to Qatar because he got involved with the person. He was married. So I don't know if also kind of played a factor for him to kind of want to get the hell out of Brazil because that person was an employee of the club. So it's like all of these things that, were kind of brewing for like this perfect storm to end in a really bad way. Nothing really came to light until after the season was over. And the players too, like the players knew. How are they not going to know, and they stayed focused too. So then Artur Jorge leaves, and Botafogo is once again, for like the third or fourth time in a 12-month period, looking for a manager. And John Textor thought, champions of Brazil, champions of South America, Libertadores, we're the best team in South America. We're the 5th best team in the world right now, according to the FIFA rankings. Any coach is going to want to come manage us because we're going to play the Club World Cup. So this is a good opportunity to get a big name manager that maybe perhaps been kind of enjoying a little bit of time off. Let me look and see who's available. So then him and Rafa Benitez start to have this negotiation, and it almost went through. At the very end of the day, Rafa Benitez is like, I don't know if I want to be that far away from my family. That was a deciding factor because everything else was good to go. So that fell through. And then Roberto Mancini, Italian coach, the coach that led Man City to that historical 2012 Premier League title. And I was like, ooh, Mancini. Okay, Texture. I see. I'm going to let you cook. Same thing. Kind of the deal was kind of happening and then it didn't. And then we tried to get Tata Martino, which was the Inter Miami's coach the season before. And he's like, I'm not ready yet. I'm going to take a break. And then Botafogo went after Club America's coach. That's the coach there right now. He's a Brazilian guy, and he's Jardine. He's well known in Brazil, but once he got out of Brazil, that's when he really came to be the manager that he is today. He led Club America to like 3 or 4 or 5 titles in a row or something like that. He's doing so good. Again, he told Texture, I need some time to think about this. Texture offered him a lot of money. You can sign whoever you want. Give me the names. We'll try to make it happen. And then at the end of the deal, he thought that his legacy at Club America still had more things to more chapters to be written. He decided to stay there. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like, who are we going to sign? Like, I don't know, like all these guys keep turning us down. And then comes Renato Paiva, which is our coach right now.
So he was 5th choice, basically.
Yes, but get this. Renato Paiva had been free since January. Renato Paiva lives in Rio.
He's been there the whole time?
He's been there the whole time. If you say in the press conference where you signed the manager, oh, Renato was the coach that we chose amongst all these other coaches that we have in the list, and he said yes to, he was, because about Botafogo we have this thing, it's like, if you're a Botafogo supporter, you're chosen. Like, you don't choose to be a Botafogo fan. Botafogo chooses you. It's one of those like mystic things, you know. And Paiva was one of the chosen. Well, gosh dang it. If he was the chosen one, why was he the chosen one in January?
Right. You just slipped through the cracks, apparently.
Texter, look at me in the eye. I know, Texter. We know that you knew, okay? But anyways, so Renato Paiva comes in, and it doesn't look good. He had a previous job in Brazil with Bahia, which is a big team that's kind of like Botafogo, like kind of sleeping giant, but they have yet to kind of wake up, so to speak. They got bought by Citigroup, so I'm expecting them anytime here and now to just have that jump, you know, and be another title contender every season. And that's who we lost to last year in the Brazilian Cup. That's one of the reasons why we probably didn't get the treble. We lost to Bahia. Renato Paiva was arguing with the press. He was arguing with the Bahia supporters. Pretty vocal about it too. So we were like, oh no. And then he starts to manage the team. And granted, he doesn't have the same squad, right? The squad changed. We lost our two best players, Luis and Hickey, which not only won best player in the Brasileirão, best player in the Libertadores, and he won the title of King of South America over Leo Messi. So he leaves for Russia, out of all freaking places. He goes to Zenit in Russia. And then we lost Thiago Almada, which was one of those players, like silent workers. But then you start looking at all his numbers. He's like, oh my God, this guy's killing it. His football IQ is so much higher than everybody else on the pitch that he already knows what the final play is before he even starts. And they were the two best players. Like, literally everybody else stayed the same. Paiva came in and he was trying to play in the same way that Arthur Jorge was playing, and it just wasn't working. Like, players were trying to be those players that left. Like, the guys that we signed to be their replacements, play to your strengths. Don't try to copy somebody else. And then once those guys realize, like, hey, we don't play like that. Like, let me play how I know how to play. So then our style of play started to change. So we went from a 4-2-4 to like a 4-2-3-1 or like a 4-2-2. Those are like the two formations that Botafogo uses a lot. He likes to do this thing where he likes fullback to fullback plays, meaning like he likes the right back to be able to send the ball all the way across to the other fullback in on an attacking play. Usually to set up like a header to inside the box or trap the ball and try to take a shot or a first time shot, which we've done all those things this season already. And he likes this tiki-taka, really creative kind of, like, he leaves it up to the players and how they choose to get this done on the pitch, but there's a structure to it. And it's expected when a right back goes up to do like an overlapping run or inside run, he expects that gap to be filled by somebody else. So either the center back to slide right to cover that spot, which means that other center backs got to slide in, which means the other left backs got to slide in. Or one of the center defensive mids usually drops right in the middle, and then the two center backs do this, and you kind of play in a 3-5-2 on attacking sort of thing, you know? So it's like kind of very fluid, where positional style of play, where he expects everybody on the team to know how to play the position next to yours, or, you know, something like that. Like, he expects everybody to know how to play all of the positions to a certain extent. So that's kind of how we play.
Watching Botafogo at this competition, I have seen some of that structure, some of that very diligent structure and positional play, but the possession figures have been really low. 40% against Seattle Sounders, 20-something% against PSG. And yet here you are in quite the privileged position entering Monday's game against Atletico. And I think Atletico are likely going to go for this. They have to win by 3 goals. So how do you think this game is going to go on Monday? It's funny because against PSG, it didn't feel so much like soaking up pressure. They were just really disciplined and really strong. And PSG created, Luis Enrique said after the game, Botafogo defended us better than anybody in Europe did all season.
Yeah. And I think that's credits to Paiva, credits to our manager, right? Look, if he does something, like, for example, in the Seattle Sounders game, to where that first half, it kind of took Botafogo about 15 minutes to kind of get loose and get going. Mm-hmm. But once we did, we scored 2 goals. It looked like the game was handled. It looked like the game was like we were just going to coast and hold this 2-0 lead or catch Seattle on a counter like we were doing against PSG, score a couple more goals. All good. Life is good. But no, what he did instead is that he put in 2 brand new players that we just signed that had never even played a single match with a team before, that probably had 1 or 2 training sessions at the most. He put them in out of position, and then he's changing players around, and we were sitting back like, and I have friends in Brazil that are part of Brazilian media that see the day-to-day, right? So they also know a little bit more about what's happening there than me, and they're all like, what the hell is this guy doing? So then we just looked so bad against Seattle Sounders in that second half. Players didn't know what to do. The guy that was supposed to be helping the fullback, which is like our left mid / left wing, they know that they need to be doing this, right? When one goes, the other one stays. Well, they put in this brand new guy that doesn't even play that position to begin with, and he's lost defensively, which is why Seattle started doing all of their attacks on their right side, which is our left side, and a lot of their plays started coming from that spot, and they were finding success. That's because that was a wide open area, and they took advantage of it. So credits to Sounders for doing that. I think, man, that I don't think that Botafogo is going to take this game lightly. I don't think they're going to try to sit back on it and hope for a draw. I really don't. I really think they're going to come out to this match exactly in the exact same mentality that they were coming against PSG. Hopefully all those players can rest and be healthy for the game, because like I told you, it's much easier for you to be the one with the ball rather than be the one chasing after the ball the entire time. So I'm sure that was against PSG. That was not only a mental, but also a very physical, taxating match on the players. So I hope they can recover on time and that they're healthy and good to go, because one of our problems right now is that we don't really have the depth that we had on the bench last season. Last season, we had a much more complete squad. On the bench, we're still needing a few more players to come, and hopefully that will come after this Club World Cup, because we did 5 signings in this special window that we have for the Club World Cup. We did 5 signings. We signed a center back. We signed this 18-year-old gem from Argentina that's supposed to be the next Almada. Who knows? We signed Joaquin Correa from Inter Milan that had played against PSG in the final. His contract was over, so Botafogo brought him. We signed Artur Cabral from Benfica, the striker from Benfica. He's coming and playing with us. So we signed 5 players, but then again, they're not quite up to speed yet on what's going on. And so the ones that we do have available, oh my God, when we were playing PSG, when he put in this kid that he's like from our academy, but last season he played on a team that got relegated. Because Botafogo is now, it's loaning a lot of players, right? A lot of players.
You're in that position now. You can do that.
Yeah, we're in that position. So he returned, and he was with that team that was relegated, and then he came and played against PSG. And I just almost lost my damn marbles, man. But he did okay. I hope that, I mean, this guy's a professional, man. Like, they understand what's going on. They know what's at stake. You know, they know exactly what's at stake. A draw or a win, we're through. Yep. And we're most likely through in first. So, and then we hopefully avoid Palmeiras in the quarterfinal if that were to happen. Because I would hate to play a Brazilian team so soon in this competition. Like, let us play other teams. Like, I want to see Botafogo. I could see Botafogo and Palmeiras in the Brasileirão on a Monday. I don't want to see here, not unless it's like a semifinal or a final. You know? If everything falls like they should fall, just based on current form, hopefully Botafogo goes through in first with either a tie or a win over Atletico, and we play Inter Miami. And that's the hope. That's what we're hoping for. But I mean, under no circumstance does the manager or the players think that this Atletico Madrid game is going to be easy. And quite the contrary. Atletico is more than capable of putting 3 goals on Botafogo if they have a good night and we have an off night.
It would be like the most Atletico thing to come out and just no offense, but just demolish Botafogo after the PSG nightmare at the Rose Bowl last weekend, and a victory, an unconvincing victory, but a victory nonetheless against Seattle Sounders. You made 5 signings for this competition. Atletico made 0, which kind of says a lot, doesn't it, about how some European sides have taken this tournament in terms of how seriously they're taking it. And Botafogo obviously have resources and funds thanks to ownership. Did you see the video of Joaquin Correa getting asked about how it would feel to play his brother Angel Correa? By the way,
Yes, I have, man.
oh my god, it was so funny.
That's so dumb. That's just pure ignorance from the
Oh my
reporter.
god, it was
That is
so bad. I
that's
was
so.
embarrassed.
But no, I again, man, Atletico has more than enough manpower to come and really give us a run for the money because you know the way that the table is set up, that's how it looks, right? It looks like Atletico is the one chasing.
Mhm.
So probably under a circumstance where both teams have a month off and both teams are 100%, maybe it looks a little bit different. But just right now, that's the way it looks. Like Atletico needs to be doing the chasing, and just based on how Botafogo played PSG which is a masterclass in defending.
Truly, it was brilliant to watch that.
Master-
As an Atletico fan, I can definitely appreciate that. I think more than other fans can, given our reputation under Cholo Simeone. And you mentioned the Botafogo way. This is Cholismo. This is the Cholo Simeone way. That's how we used to play. So it was really, really cool and really refreshing to see how you guys just ground out that result.
Yeah, and I think mostly we did that is because we nullified Vitinha. He's like the brain of this team, right?
Yeah.
And we set 3 defensive mids in the middle. We were pushing them out. We were forcing them out. There was no way through the middle. And then once we forced them out, we usually had 2 to 3 players kind of blocking that corridor. And that's what I was saying. Like, I hope they're physically healthy because it probably took a lot to defend like that. It takes a huge, not only a physical focus, but all tremendous mental focus for you to be always like following the ball and like, oh crap, I got to go that way, and then just running back and forth to be able to close gaps and maintaining your cool. Man, that was like probably the most historic result that is going to happen in this World Cup.
Before we get out of here, give me like 2 or 3 players from Botafogo that Atleti fans need to keep an eye on. These could be your best players, potential matchup nightmares, dudes who we need to keep an eye on for Monday.
Number 1 is Igor Jesus.
Yeah, he's good. He's going to Brighton after this, isn't he?
He's going to Forest.
Okay.
Forest. So Igor Jesus was this guy that we signed mostly due to our scouting department just being so good. But the Botafogo scouting department is the best scouting department in South America, hands down. Do you know how much we purchased Igor Jesus for?
No, I don't.
Nothing.
Free transfer.
Free transfer.
From where?
Saudi Arabia.
Of all the places.
Igor Jesus was destroying in Saudi Arabia. He had like 23 goals or 19 matches, something like that. Just destroying everybody. And his contract was coming to an end. So at that little gap that you have that you can offer players a contract, Botafogo went right away and just got the deal done. So at the beginning of the season, when he came and played for us, which is at the transfer window of 2023, we were like, no, 24. Yeah, summer window 24. I was like, who is this guy? Like, he's coming from where? And then you get the usual comments like, oh, he's playing the Farmers League, or he's playing the leagues of the, like, where nothing but mechanics are playing or something like that,
Woodworkers, yeah.
Yeah, woodworkers, painters, weekend warriors kind of deal. And no, but he came in and look at him now. He's just destroying everybody. And he is our best player, hands down. Center back, Jair Cunha, which is a young center back. He's only about 19, 20 years old, but he's already the captain of Brazilian's U20 team. He is amazing center back. Against PSG, he really, for a 20-year-old to play like that and win, I think Jair won all of his challenges versus PSG. He didn't lose a single challenge versus PSG. Player versus player, he won them all. So And it was assumed that he was going to Forest as well after the World Cup of Clubs, but apparently Jair has found such a big has taken such a big liking to the club that he wants to stay until the end of our season, and that's December. So he will most likely be going to Forest as well with Igor Jesus. Igor Jesus is leaving right now right after the Club World Cup is done. Jair was supposed to as well, but he may not be going until December. But I also think he's going. That's why we signed that center back that I told you about at the transfer window, because we're expecting him to leave. And Jair was not our starting center back, by the way. We bought him from Santos at the beginning of the year because our starting center back, which was the best center back of the 2024 season in Brazil and the Libertadores, had a serious injury, and he's still out. So he's going to need some time to recover. And Jair came in, and he just took that spot and said, "It's mine. Sorry." He's like, "Look at me. I'm the captain now. I'm the center back now." So it was that. And man, he's been doing fantastic, phenomenal. It's hard to say who else would be me, because I there's so many players that can make a difference. Like our center attacking mid, Savarino. He used to play for the MLS in the Real Salt Lake. We purchased him just like we did with Thiago Almada, and Savarino was one of the very key players in our 2024 season. He had 14 goals and 14 assists. And he was the guy that gave Igor Jesus a through ball versus PSG. So him, oh man, we have Alex Telles, which is a left back. Telles is kind of a known player in Europe, played for Man United, played for Sevilla. Yeah. We have Gregory, which is that center defensive mid that against PSG was just a dog. He just won everything. He got a card, but that's just because he's so intensive, physically intensive. We got Marlon Freitas that in this tournament, he has the most accurate long passes of any midfielder in the tournament. There's Alan, which is the
formerly of Napoli.
Yeah, formerly of Napoli. And he was also like his performance versus PSG needs to be dissected and shown to any young up and coming box to box midfielder.
He was brilliant.
So Botafogo has a really good solid midfield with 3 really good center defensive mids and a really good center attacking mid with the striker. There's other center back, Alexander Barbosa, also brilliant against PSG. He won almost all his shoulder-to-shoulder tackles against Gonzalo Ramos and all the other PSG forwards and strikers. He basically won every single challenge too. So, and he was also, if not the best, the second best center back in Brazil last year. Tell you what, Sorloth versus Barbosa, mark my words, that is going to be one of those one of the battles to watch inside the pitch. Sorloth and Barbosa will be an interesting thing to see because they're both big, they're both trucks. I really hope that Barbosa doesn't commit a penalty on Sorloth, because I can see that happening. Because Barbosa is Argentinian, so he's hot-headed. Sorloth gets inside his head, or the same thing can happen too. I don't know how Sorloth is as far as like his mental. I don't know if he gets ticked off very easily.
Not really. He's pretty stoic. He's pretty calm, pretty flat, which is a bit frustrating when he misses tap-ins from like 2 or 3 yards.
Sure,
he doesn't really have a reaction to that, but he's generally pretty stoic.
So we'll see if Barbosa gets in his head, or the fact that Barbosa is trying and it's not working may get into Barbosa's head. So I don't know. That's gonna be a matchup to watch for sure.
Can't wait. I've taken up enough of your time, Pete. Thank you so much for this. This was
thank you, man.
So much fun. Where can our listeners find you and your work?
You can find me on YouTube, Glorious Botafogo on YouTube. You can find me on X or /Twitter. But I upload almost weekly videos on YouTube. So if you want to know what's going on, just recently I uploaded the condensed history of Botafogo, all in English on my YouTube and on X. So if you're watching this and you want to learn a little bit more about the history and the kind of players that we used to have, like Garrincha, for example, which is best player in the world in the World Cup of '62. He was a Botafogo player. We got so many historic players in our club. But if you want to know, it's not the complete history. You can't really tell any club's history in 16 minutes. But I did the best I could. So if you want to watch that, go check it out. And thank you for everybody watching. It's just really fun. And I hope hopefully Atleti fans take a liking to Botafogo and we can support each other in our endeavors.
Pete,
Yeah.
thank you again, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much, man.